Good morning, Election Day. After a hard-fought battle, it all boils down to today. Two men, two parties, two very different visions of how to get America back on track. John McCain, Republican war hero, Capitol Hill veteran, he promises to use his experience to keep America safe in a dangerous world.
I promise you, I will put my country first.
Barack Obama, Democrat, rising star, the first African-American to get so close. His message, the time for change, has come.
Fired up! Ready to go!
Who will be the next president of the United States? It is up to you to decide. Today, Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th, 2008.
From NBC News, this is a special edition of Today, Decision 2008, with Matt Lauer and Meredith Vieira, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And welcome to today on this historic Tuesday, Election Day. I'm Meredith Vieira. I feel like a little kid, except I can vote. I'm so
exactly.
excited.
You're finally of age, right? And I'm Matt Lauer, and we've come outside to NBC's Election Plaza, the center of our coverage of this historic vote. And let's talk about where we are. The candidates have had their say. They've made their pitches. The ads have run over and over again. The pundits have had their say as well. Now is your chance to have your voice heard by going out and casting a vote. And it looks like when you do that today, you're going to have a lot of company.
We are talking about a record-shattering 140 million people who could vote today. The story of the day could really be the very long lines. The polls in some states already open, and the turnout so far looks very big. Check out this polling place in Manhattan. Al Roker actually tried to vote on his way to work. He couldn't even get in. Meanwhile, in Charlotte, North Carolina, already 500 people standing in line there. And in Tamarack, Florida, you can see big crowds as well. So bring your patience and maybe a book or two when you head over to the polling places this morning.
And as you cast your vote, don't forget that the candidates will be voting as well. Barack Obama will vote in Chicago, Illinois. John McCain in Phoenix, Arizona. For Barack Obama this day, the excitement of this day is mixed with sadness as well, because just yesterday he learned that his grandmother, a woman who helped to raise him as a child, passed away after a battle with cancer. He shed some tears about that at a campaign stop in North Carolina last night. John McCain, for his part, had a very busy Monday. He traveled to 7 states and campaigned until the wee hours of the morning, predicting a come-from-behind upset victory.
And in a break from tradition, both candidates are going to campaign after they vote today as well. We're going to begin with the latest from both camps. Lee Cowan is covering the Obama campaign, Kelly O'Donnell, the McCain campaign. And Lee, we're going to start with you. What's on Senator Obama's agenda this morning?
Well, good morning, Meredith. Barack Obama is now finally back here in Chicago, reunited with his wife and 2 daughters, trying to come to terms this morning with, as you say, the fact that his grandmother will not make it to see just how this night will turn out. Madeline Dunham died after her battle with cancer in Honolulu early yesterday, just 10 days after Barack Obama took time off the trail to go visit her for the very last time. As he said, he shed some tears over that at a rally in Charlotte, North Carolina last night, calling her a quiet hero that always tried to do the right thing. As for his campaign, he wrapped it up officially last night with a big rally in Virginia last night. More than 90,000 people turned out there to see that final campaign rally, but it's not over yet. He has one more stop. He heads to Indiana later this morning after he votes. Then he comes back here to Chicago. And we understand he's going to be playing a little basketball tonight before the polls close. He's very superstitious. He's played basketball almost every time before a big primary night, so he figures, why stop on the biggest night of all?
Oh, no, keep dribbling that ball. Lee Cowan, thank you very much. Kelly O'Donnell is in Phoenix, where Senator McCain will watch the results this evening. Kelly, how is Senator McCain spending his day?
Well, very little sleep, that's for sure, Meredith. Being home now in Phoenix, he will, of course, cast his ballot here. But he's not done campaigning either. He will travel to Grand Junction, Colorado, hold a rally there, an important battleground state where his top advisors think they've been able to close the gap a bit. He will also visit volunteers and staffers trying to get out the vote in New Mexico. He will be back in Arizona about the time polls begin closing in the east, so he'll be able to watch returns. Monday was incredibly busy. He traveled more than than 3,700 miles, and he capped his campaign symbolically in Prescott, Arizona, a place where many who are from Arizona, who've run for president before, also made important stops. It's been a regular place for McCain to celebrate important election moments, and he did that last night. He was a bit emotional there, a bit of a sentimental journey for him as well. His ambition to be president goes back more than 10 years, and so he described it as a long journey, thanking the people of Arizona for allowing him to serve, asking them to help him to serve one more mission. And so for John and Cindy McCain, they will be home in Arizona tonight, and they will be awaiting the returns just as we will. Meredith?
Thank you, Kelly. Kelly O'Donnell reporting for us from Phoenix, Arizona. Now let's head inside to Matt.
All right, Meredith, thank you. Chuck Todd is NBC's political director. Chuck, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt.
You're going to give us 5 things to watch when the results start coming in tonight, and the first thing you want to talk about is Virginia and how quickly that state can be called in either direction.
Absolutely. Polls close at 7 o'clock. The state has a very efficient way of counting votes. We could know by 8 o'clock, which is an important time frame because there's a whole bunch of other battleground states that close then. And if this thing is called quickly for Obama, it means the polls were correct, number one, and 2, it really narrows the path fast.
And what it creates is what you like to call a political triangle for John McCain. If he loses Virginia, he's got other states he now must win, and those are?
Ohio, North Carolina, Florida. He has to sweep them to even keep this thing alive at that point. He loses one of those, and it's as close to checkmate as you can get. We can't officially say that,
right,
but everybody watching would know that.
We'll get back to the race for the presidency in a second, but there's something else going here, and we're calling that the drive for 60.
Right.
Democrats want to actually dominate the Senate. And how early on in the evening we will get a sense for their chances of that?
We could know at 6 p.m. when votes started getting counted in Kentucky. In Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, the Senate Republican leader, is in trouble. It's probably the last seat Democrats could win in a wave. They're going to win 8 seats. They're going to pick up 8 seats. But Kentucky, Mississippi, and Georgia are going to be that last 3 to determine 60. And Kentucky's an early poll close. We'll know.
And at the end of the night, this map could start to look different. It could be a much more regional political map than it's ever been before.
Absolutely. And it's not just on the presidential level, the red, blue, and that'll pop up a little bit. But it's what the Republican Party, what's going to be left of the Republican Party. If Chris Shays loses in Connecticut, Democrats could win a House seat in Idaho. They're going to pick up seats all over the country, including the South. But the Republicans are only going to have guys left in the South. They're going to be a Southern party.
It's going to be consolidated.
It's going to be consolidated. And when you're a regional party, you're not a majority party.
Let's not say we know everything that's going to happen. Let's talk about some possible big surprises tonight. And one of those would be if Barack Obama manages to win, and I can't believe it, state.
Right.
Which states would we look for?
I think it's South Carolina. That's the one. I mean, Georgia is there too, but South Carolina would be the one that would shock all of us. This is a state that's been rock rib Republican. This is Strom Thurmond, right? This is a state rock rib Republican. But if African-American turnout comes out in these historic levels, which a lot of us think it's going to happen, South Carolina could change, and that's when you're going to see this map look a lot different.
All hypothetical. The last one I want to hit you on briefly is a lot of people are starting to talk about this possibility. Tell me how much of a possibility you think it is. That John McCain loses the popular vote and wins the Electoral College.
Well, it's probably the only way if McCain wins. It will be the only way he'll do it. We've seen surge in voting in California, in New York. You talked about the long lines this morning. I've talked about this African-American turnout in these southern states, which Obama could do better than expected, than Kerry did before, but not win them. So his popular vote total will be up. He could win 3-4 million popular vote advantage. But if McCain has this narrow path, sweeps the triangle, somehow wins Virginia, somehow takes these western states here, Colorado and Nevada, he could get 273 and lose the popular vote. That would be an interesting reaction the country would have if that happened.
Get a nap. Okay,
yes, sir.
You're going to need it. It's going to be a busy night. Chuck Todd, thanks very much.
Right.
It's 8 after the hour. Once again, here's Meredith.
Matt, thank you. NBC's Tom Brokaw is here with some perspective of his own. Good morning to you, Tom.
Good morning, Meredith.
No matter who wins today, how important is it that the win be decisive?
Well, I think that it is important, but I think what is most encouraging to me, at least, is that the nerve endings of this country are exposed. You're seeing it in the voting lines out there. And my impression is that the country is ready to accept a winner of either party if we can get on with the business that we all know that's before us. You know, I was thinking about it on the way in this morning. The 2 great defining issues of my reporting life in this country have been Vietnam and race. They're both in play here. John McCain, a Vietnam veteran, obviously Barack Obama, and African American. So this is a really historic passage, however it turns out.
That's right. We'll either have an African American president or we'll have a female vice president. What impact do you think that's going to have on this country?
Well, I do think that we're not fully prepared for the cultural changes that America will go through if John McCain and Sarah Palin win, or if Barack Obama and Joe Biden win. It's pretty exciting to think about it. I think there will be a lot of new people who want to go to Washington. I think you see in these rallies and certainly in the voter turnout around the country a determination to get back in the arena from the ground up, not from just the top down. I think Washington has shut out a lot of people. It seemed like not a very friendly place to go. In fact, it seemed hostile to a lot of citizens. Now I think that they want to get on deck and get their hands on the oars.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are feeling Washington is still off limits because of the amount of money you need to get there, and not just the presidential races, but some of the state races as well. Are we going to need to address that?
Well, I do think both parties need to address this. Obviously, Barack Obama made a critical decision when he decided not to accept public financing. The Republicans said that was a betrayal. He broke his word. On the other hand, he is now outspending John McCain by a 3-to-1 factor. We're going to spend $2.1 billion on this campaign. And I was watching ads that were going on last night. I don't think they're going to move the needle at all, but they had the money, and so they were spending on them. We do need to think about the use of money in campaigns, because other democracies, and certainly in this country, people will be asking the question, is that the best use of capital, of which we have a little less now in this time?
All right, Tom Brokaw, thank you. Busy day ahead.
Oh, it's going to be, but it's very exciting.
Very exciting.
However it turns out, I think it's the end of apathy for the time being, and that's very encouraging.
All right, Tom, thank you very much.
Meredith.
Let's go back to Matt.
All right, Meredith, thanks. One of the chief architects behind Senator Obama's run for the White House is his campaign manager, David Plouffe. Mr. Plouffe, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt.
I know that campaigns at this stage of the game are loath to show any insecurities, but if there is one nagging doubt, whether it be about a particular state or a dynamic, what would it be for you this morning?
Well, we just want to make sure people turn out. As you've reported, there's going to be long lines. And so if people really want to bring about change, we're encouraging them to be patient and make sure their vote gets counted. So that's what we're focused on. We think we've got enough supporters around the country to win this election. We just have to make sure enough of them vote.
Yeah, let me take that another step, because one of the great strengths for Barack Obama has been these new voters, these newly registered young voters in particular. In the past, that has not been the most reliable group in an election. Are you sure that they're motivated enough this time around?
We are. We're very confident about that. I think new voters, younger voters, I think this is a big election. People understand the stakes could not be larger. The economy, terrorism, we need a new direction in this country. So I think that you're going to see an enormous turnout tonight.
You are a numbers guy, and I want to talk about a couple of states in particular. The McCain campaign is saying, hey, let's look at Ohio, let's look at Virginia. We think, this is the McCain people talking, we think the numbers there are much tighter. The race is tighter than has been reported. What are your numbers telling you about those states?
Well, first of all, our chief strategy in the general election was to put enough states in play so that we'd have a lot of different avenues to win the election. And that's where we find ourselves this morning. So it's not going to come down to one state for us. We have a much broader path. We feel very good about Ohio. We think Senator Obama's made a compelling case on the economy in terms of cutting taxes for the middle class, growing this economy through helping small businesses. In Virginia, we think we've got an enormous organization. We've had a lead for some time now. We obviously have to couple that with turnout. So we feel good about where we stand in both of those states. But obviously, if people don't turn out, they're going to be very, very close.
You mentioned the economy. Let me end on that note. There are some people who feel that Barack Obama would not be where he is today in the polls with this chance he has today if it weren't for the financial crisis, the economy's meltdown. How do you respond to that?
Well, we think we were delivering a very compelling economic message throughout the campaign. Obviously, when the crisis struck, I think voters were able to look at these two potential presidents. One, Senator McCain was very erratic, and I think that was concerning to people. Barack Obama was very steady and clear about where he stood, and I do think that benefited for us.
All right, David Plouffe. Mr. Plouffe, thanks again. I know it's going to be a long day for you as well. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, it's 14 after the hour. Once again, here's Meredith.
Matt, thank you. Mary Madeline is a former assistant to President George W. Bush and a top Republican strategist. Mary, good morning to you.
Good morning, Meredith. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Let me pick up where Matt left off and ask you the same question. Do you think that Obama would be leading in the polls if the financial crisis had not happened?
Well, as we know, McCain was leading until that time, and then, but where it is today is that it is closed. These McCain people have good reason to be as optimistic as they are today in those target states. It's a thread the needle strategy that they have to complete, but they have the turnout mechanism in place. They're outperforming what they did in '04. But yeah, that was the turn of events that had a drift away from McCain, but it drifted into undecideds. And as we know from the primaries, undecideds in the end did not cut to Barack Obama. They cut to Hillary Clinton.
But you talk about threading the needle, and basically McCain needs to win at least 5 of the 6 big battleground states: Indiana, Virginia, Ohio, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Florida. How doable is that really, Mary?
It's very doable. The vaunted and still vaunted 72-hour program is exceeding its performance exponentially from what it was able to deliver in the last cycle. They have 10 million more contacts. They raised $310 million. They raised $92 million in October alone. All of that money is being deployed to turn out voters. They're cranking it up. They're turning them out. And these lines are not just around the block with Democrats. There's Republicans in those lines as well.
Maureen Dowd suggested that if McCain loses, it could be because he lost his brand. In the primaries, he veered too far to the right to appease conservatives, and he didn't disassociate himself enough from President Bush. Are you satisfied with the campaign that McCain ran? Is there anything you would have done differently?
Well, I absolutely reject Maureen Dowd's brilliant political strategy there. This was a tough year for Republicans, for the Republican brand. Going forward, though, no one should make the mistake that conservatism and republicanism are synonymous. Twice as many people identify themselves as conservative. When conservatives lose, when Republicans lose, is when they aren't able to convey a conservative, traditional, values-based, economic conservative, strong defense, limited government, all those things that are second nature to us, when they can't convey that. Barack Obama is running on cutting taxes. That's a Republican conservative pledge. So I think he ran the best campaign that he could run in these circumstances, and was aided greatly by the addition of Sarah Palin to his ticket.
All right, Mary Madeline, thank you very much.
Thanks, Meredith. Did you vote?
Not yet. I get up too early. I'm going to vote right after this show, though.
It's a great celebratory day.
It sure is.
All right, let's get the rest of the morning's headlines. There are lots of them, and we'll get them from Ann Curry, who's going to be doing double duty today.
I will,
with us
Matt.
this morning, over there tonight, doing exit polling, and back here tomorrow.
That's true. Thanks a lot, Matt and Meredith. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Well, the U.S. election is getting a lot of attention overseas, and joining us now is NBC's chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel in Baghdad. Richard, John McCain and Barack Obama have very different views on Iraq and fighting terrorism. So what are Iraqis hoping to see from this next administration?
I think both Iraqis and American soldiers here understand that this next U.S. administration has one main challenge in Iraq, which is to transfer authority to the Iraqi government. The problem is the current Iraqi government is too weak, too divided, too corrupt to lead this country. If U.S. forces left Iraq now, the government would very likely collapse. The U.S. forces militarily are doing very well. The war hasn't been going this well in years. Violence is down to about 2004 levels. The problem is there's no one to hand over to. Ann?
All right, Richard Engel this morning. Richard, thanks for that reporting. Now let's go to NBC's Ron Mott, who's in Kenya, where Barack Obama's father was born. Ron, how much interest are you seeing there in this election?
Hey there, Ann. Good morning. Well, you may be able to hear some of the sounds of Obama mania off camera here. These folks are crazy about Barack Obama, not just in this village where his family lives, his grandmother Kogelo, but all across Kenya. And they point to two things: national pride. They say that someone with Kenyan roots this close to taking over what is considered the most powerful job in the world is a great source of pride and inspiration for them. And they also say national interest. They believe that an Obama presidency will mean good, if not great things for Kenya and other nations here in Africa, and they hope that tomorrow by this time they'll be deep in celebration, Ann.
Well, let's see what happens. Ron Mott, thank you so much for your reporting this morning. Also today in the news, today the Supreme Court takes up its first broadcast indecency case in 30 years. The court will decide whether the government should allow one-time use of profanity on live television during hours that children are watching. And a woman opened the hood of her car on Monday and found this, a 10-foot boa constrictor. It had wrapped itself around the engine of the car. It took 3 people, including 2 animal control officers, almost an hour to pull it out. This happened in Punta Gorda, Florida, and now this woman has no excuse to not get her car to the polls. It is now 7:19. Let's go to Meredith and Matt this morning.
It's got a pretty good excuse to be freaked out, though. There's no question about it.
Oh.
That's strange.
Okay, let's
on that weird
note, let's get a check of the election day weather from Mr. Roca.
Yeah,
good morning, Al.
good morning, guys. It's terrific. In fact, as I mentioned, I went to my polling place, the line about 3 blocks long, and I have to try to go after we finish the broadcast. Let's take a look, see what's going on as far as your weather is concerned. Election day, only real problem spots, the Pacific Northwest, some mountain snows in the northern Rockies and along the Carolina coast and the Virginia coastline. Otherwise, record highs in the plains, windy conditions in the mid-sections of the country, beautiful weather through the Gulf Coast on into the southwest. So weather is not going to be a deterrent as far as voting is concerned. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
7:20 Tuesday morning, live look outside. Clearly cloudy skies in place. It's a thin layer of cloud cover, enough to lead to pretty gloomy looking skies out there. Pretty decent breeze. This is inland, our camera out at the Miccosukee. Temperature trend going this way. We're into the upper 60s and lower 70s at this point. 70 at MIA. Northwest winds at around 10 miles per hour. We'll be up to about 84. Cloudy skies this morning. Sunshine this afternoon. 83 and dry on Wednesday. 82 and sunny on Thursday.
Your latest weather. Matt.
All right, Al, thank you very much. Still ahead, which one of these two candidates will be the next vice president of the United States? Sarah Palin and Joe Biden make their final pitches for votes. We're back in a moment. This is an Election Day edition of Today on NBC.
Well, you got two choices. You can stay up till like 3 o'clock this morning or tomorrow morning, or you can wait for us.
That's right. We'll have all your election results starting tomorrow morning.
And check on traffic and also your local Weather Plus forecast. It's going to be a nice one. See you tomorrow morning at 5.
Still to come on today, election nights to remember. Think 2000. Will this be another one?
No, I hope not. It's going to be memorable no matter what, though. Plus, Saturday Night Live gets one last chance to poke fun at the candidates. We are going to have some of the highlights after your local news.
Financial crisis and everything else.
From South Florida's news leader, this is Today in South Florida on NBC6 HD.
Good morning, 7:27 is the time. I'm Pam Giganti, live in the NBC6 newsroom. After the long wait, Decision Day is finally here, and already the polls are starting to fill up across Miami-Dade County. Let's get you on over to Steve Litz. He's standing by live at the South Kendall Community Church with more. Hi, Steve.
Pam, good morning. People are doing their civic duty. Started very early this morning, and the line is pretty long. This is South Kendall Community Church, 152nd Street, Southwest 147 Avenue. Actually, 2 precincts here. A little more than 8,000 people registered to vote here. Not only is the presidential race getting people out here, so is the congressional race in this area. The 25th Congressional District pitting Mario Diaz-Balart against Joe Garcia. Several hundred people online. It wraps around the building. I talked with a couple of people who have come out. No problem. One voter told me couldn't be simpler. That is your report from the polls. Let's now get your report on traffic with Kristen Kelly.
Thanks, Steve. Good morning, South Florida. 595 east and westbound. Your normal congestion is what you're seeing out there, especially between Southwest 136th Avenue and Pine Island Road. Look out for an accident on the Florida Turnpike northbound at Sunrise Boulevard. Also, I-95 northbound at Sterling Road, a disabled vehicle blocking a lane. I-95 in and out of the Golden Glades looking good. That's the latest. Let's go to Ryan with your weather.
Arlene, thank you, Krista, thank you very much. Arlene's behind the controls. Live look outside, some clouds settling in down here across the Keys, but we have a thicker cloud deck closer to home here in the 2 County area. Mostly cloudy start to our morning. Temperatures into the upper 60s and lower 70s. We'll be looking for a nice afternoon, though. Partly sunny at 84, dry until Friday. Pam?
And you got Elizabeth on the floor here, surrounded by women. We'll have another live update in 25 minutes. Take us in the car, 87.7 FM.
Joe means trouble.
I've never seen Joe Garcia.
We don't know Joe because Joe doesn't live here.
He's been involved in a lot of corruption.
This is not a time to raise taxes.
He either doesn't get it or he doesn't care.
It would just be devastating.
My opponent, Joe Garcia, he wants to raise taxes. I want to lower them. He's for Wall Street.
I'm for our streets. He puts party first. I'll always put you first. I'm Mario Diaz-Balart, and I approve this message for your family and mine.
Right now, look at what you can buy for just $3.99 at your Ashley Furniture Home Store. Like this stylish and comfortable sofa. It's yours for just $3.99. Right now, you can buy this dining room for just $3.99. Enjoy Ashley savings in every department. Look what else you can buy at our Ashley Direct prices. We make fashion an affordable luxury. Plus, no interest financing till 2012. At Ashley, you save more money with Ashley Direct prices and enjoy delivery today, every day. Right now at your Ashley Furniture Home Store.
Watch me at 5, only on NBC 6.
They may be number 2 on the ticket, but these vice presidential hopefuls, Senator Joe Biden and Governor Sarah Palin, are grabbing nearly as many headlines as the men at the top of the ballot these days. In a moment, their final push to this election day. 7:30 now on a Tuesday morning, November 4th, 2008. It is Election Day, and we're looking at some of the fine folks who stopped by here on what's been dubbed Election Plaza this morning. Inside Studio 1A. First of all, I have to say, I like the fact that we've got the map of the United
I love
States
that. I'm going to go out there and skate across it later.
I watched Willie Geist of Morning Joe doing that a little while ago. He couldn't stop, though, so he kept talking about Ohio and ending up in Nevada.
He's like the candidates. They can't stop either.
Exactly.
Campaigning even today.
Alongside Meredith Vieira, I'm Matt Lauer. The first polls have opened. Voters are busy casting their votes. But the truth is, before even one polling place opened its doors today, as many as 44 million people may have already voted in the 31 states that allow early voting. About a third of the electorate. It's incredible. That's just the first step in the most expensive U.S. presidential contest in history.
Today, around 100 million other Americans could head to the polls. All told, the 2008 election will have cost the candidates $1 billion, and that works out to as much as $8 for every voter. Now, will it be money well spent for Barack Obama or John McCain? And what should you be looking for when the first polls close in less than 12 hours tonight? 2 veteran political insiders will weigh in just a moment. They just arrived.
Exactly right. Also, last night was the final chance for our friends at Saturday Night Live to skewer the candidates. We've got all the laughs lined up for you. We'll show you the highlights.
But we're going to begin with the vice presidential candidates working right up to the end to get their ticket elected. We're covering both candidates, but let's start with NBC's Peter Alexander, who's in Governor Sarah Palin's hometown of Wasilla, Alaska. Good morning to you, Peter.
Meredith, good morning to you. The governor arrives back in her home state early this morning, then comes to her hometown of Wasilla to vote here at City Hall. Campaign aides say that the candidate herself pushed for this trip back home. Despite the travel costs, they said it would be a good photo op, shots that would play throughout the day, helping reconnect her with her home state. Less than 2 months after bursting onto the national stage, Sarah Palin closed out the campaign, working her way west.
Colorado, do you share our commitment, and can we count on you tomorrow?
Energetic and at times hoarse, the 44-year-old mother rallied Republicans in Colorado and Nevada, red states the GOP needs to win.
We want to work for you, so Nevada, will you hire us?
Off the trail, some good news for the governor. Late Monday, Alaskan officials cleared Palin of any ethical violations in the Troopergate case. She'd been accused of abusing her power by trying to get her former brother-in-law, a state trooper, fired.
I'm calling on behalf of McCain Palin.
In Anchorage, volunteers worked the phones, focusing not at home, but on the lower 48's battlegrounds.
And we just had a lady said, I just changed my mind, and we're going for McCain and Palin, so that's really exciting for us. So you hear
No matter the outcome, Wasilla's already made history.
We welcome people up here.
But as we learned, don't expect the new mayor, Vern Ruprecht, to follow suit.
What are you planning to do after this?
Get another term as mayor. I haven't thought really that far ahead.
Vice President?
Maybe of my condo association in retirement.
As promised, the governor's medical records were released overnight. Her doctor says she is in excellent health and physically fit. After she votes here this morning, Matt, in Wasilla, she flies straight to Phoenix, joining John McCain tonight to watch the election results.
All right, Peter Alexander in Wasilla, Alaska for us this morning. Peter, thanks very much. Meanwhile, Senator Joe Biden is starting his day in his home at Wilmington, Delaware, and that's where NBC's Ron Allen's standing by. Hi, Ron. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Matt. Yes, Biden will be here to vote shortly, and then after that, he has one more campaign stop over in Richmond, Virginia, that very red state that the Democrats have been pushing really hard to turn blue. Biden, of course, has been through a lot of elections, a lot of campaigns, and he said the other day he knows what victory is, and that's what he's been feeling for today.
A great day. An opportunity to make history again.
In Pennsylvania, the leader of baseball's world champion Philadelphia Phillies, shortstop Jimmy Rollins, stepped up to the plate for Obama and Biden.
We need change. We need Philadelphia to make a difference.
A hometown celebration for Biden, born and raised in Pennsylvania, a Democratic state where John McCain made a big push.
Change is on the way.
Biden has strongly condemned his old friend's campaign tactics.
You know what I mean? I just think John has said, look, I just got to put on these combat boots, man. I got to sludge through this. I got one shot. Thank you so much.
Biden has been hitting small towns in states like Ohio and Missouri, where Democrats don't usually campaign.
Hi, how are you?
Reaching out to families hurt by the economy. And Biden insists he has outperformed his opponent, Sarah Palin. What is it that you think you have contributed on the campaign trail to ticket?
Well, that's for the voters to decide. I look at the polling data. Looks like no one doubts whether I can be president or vice president.
Biden has been very relaxed and very confident lately, chatting a lot more with the national media and pushing back at some of that criticism that some of his unscripted remarks may have hurt the campaign. Later today, he heads out to Chicago to join up with Barack Obama and about 1 million other supporters. Meredith, back to you.
Ron Allen, thanks very much. So 2 years after this election season began, it all ends today. For some, not soon enough. Mike Murphy is a Republican strategist and former advisor to Senator McCain. Former Congressman Harold Ford Jr. is the head of the Democratic Leadership Council. Both men, NBC News analysts. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for getting up so early for us.
Sure.
We asked both of you if you want to predict how this election will go tonight. Look to Virginia first, where the polls close at 7 o'clock. Why Virginia, Mike?
Because it's a red state, and if it's going to be a bad night for John McCain, you're going to see red states turning blue. If he can hold Virginia, where polls have shown Barack Obama's been ahead, it'll show McCain has had some closing in the last couple of days, and he'll be more competitive in the Floridas, the Ohios, the Pennsylvanias.
So if it's a squeaker for McCain in Virginia, that is a good sign for him.
May be a positive sign for him. I think there are two things in our advantage for the Democrats in Virginia. One, Barack has worked so hard there. They've put an organization on the ground and it's succeeding. Two, Mark Warner, the Senate candidate, the Democratic Senate candidate, is running such a formidable campaign that will certainly bleed over into the presidential race. But Mike's right; it's a close race there.
Absolutely. We don't really know what's going to happen tonight, at least not at this point. But we can look back at the past few weeks. What have you noticed about these candidates? Their demeanor. Start with you, Mike.
I think they're both exceptional in their own way. You got to admire how dogged and tough McCain has been. He's out campaigning somewhere right now. I mean, he's just pounding away, won't quit.
He seems happier than he's ever been.
You know, the last couple of days, I've seen the McCain I know so well from 2000. He's relaxed. He's funny. I think it's an excellent tone. I wish other parts of the campaign had been like that.
Well, what does that say to you, though?
Well, I don't know. There's a certain freedom candidates get near the end because it's out of their hands. They can kind of unwind a little, and particularly when they're a bit behind in the polls, it's almost a liberation. They can see, the horse can see the barn. And it's always a good last 100 hours, and I think McCain's right on note right now.
McCain never seemed to settle on a narrative, one that he was consistent and comfortable with. Mike is right to a large point. As you see the end of the campaign, he's really coming into his own. Obama, conversely, found a narrative, was steady, was sober, was not rattled. His campaign team settled on a narrative and settled on a strategy, and they followed that strategy throughout. And we'll find out in a few hours if it works.
Did McCain make a mistake by not going after Barack Obama and his association with Reverend Wright? You're seeing these independent groups now with these ads, inflammatory ads.
No, I think McCain was right. I mean, that issue, that association is no secret to the voters. I think it's been litigated. I think it's a legitimate issue. I think these late ads are a little bit ineffective because they seem a bit late and desperate. But the Reverend Wright, problem is no secret to the American voters, and I think McCain had better things to campaign on, so I applaud him.
Let's talk about what happens to these parties. If Barack Obama does not win tonight, what happens to the Democratic Party?
There'll be a lot of rethinking, a lot of re-examining. There are a lot of people that probably don't want to consider that at this moment. But assume that may happen. I doubt it will. Democrats will more likely not swell their majorities in the House and the Senate, so the party will remain relevant in policymaking, and a president named McCain would have to work very closely with Democrats.
I like this scenario. There'd be a total axe fight because the expectations are so high on the Democrat side. They can taste it, that they're coming back with tremendous power. We'll see what happens.
But what if McCain doesn't win? What's going to happen to the Republican Party?
Big meltdown. It'll be kind of like Russia in 1920. A lot of warlords around and no central authority. You know, it'll be something else, and it'll take a long time to shake out. It'll be like the fall of Rome, and I'll use all these Russian examples. Ox carts of chandeliers leaving town tomorrow night, a Republican establishment collapsing. But it can be good. You know, we want to win. We hope McCain wins. It's still, there's a chance. But
do you guys believe that we will go to bed tonight knowing who the next president of the United States is?
Yes.
Oh, boy, was that definitive.
Yeah.
We talked about that before we got here, but we didn't really.
Yeah, we're ready for it to be over. We're hoping by 9 o'clock. I'm hoping for a big upset. Harold's hoping for probably what the polls look like may happen, but we're no.
Okay, Mike Murphy, Harold Ford, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you can watch NBC's coverage of tonight's election results anchored by Brian Williams. That's tonight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific time. And of course, we'll follow the election all day on MSNBC and MSNBC.com. And now let's get a check of the weather now.
And thanks a lot, Meredith. Let's take a look, show you what's going on. First of all, big snowstorm working its way. Oh, we're not going to go to the weather video. Okay, let's not do that. Oh, we are going to go to the weather video. Yes, we are. There you go. Northern California got a big snowstorm. Cars and trucks along Interstate 80. This is Placer County. Luckily, no serious problems. Many drivers in the Sierra Mountains say they're used to this, but still, right before Election Day, a little on the messy side. Now, let's take a look at a couple of spots that may cause some problems for voting. Low pressure area along the Carolina coast may bring some heavy rain, especially right along the Outer Banks. Some areas picking up 3 to 5 inches of rain. And then in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of rain coming on shore. Northern California, that storm we showed you, all the way into the Pacific Northwest. Rainfall amounts generally relatively light, but in the mountains, they are looking at some heavier snowfalls, anywhere from 6 inches to a half a foot. And we got a little Sarah Palin lookalike here.
Hey everyone, vote for me. Vote for me.
There you go. Now we need a Joe Biden lookalike. That'll finish us off. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
741, good morning to you. A live look down through the lower Keys, and we see a little bit of sunshine up above, but also some low clouds in place here. Temperature trended into the lower 70s for most locations, but again, mostly cloudy skies, pretty much the rule out there this morning. Temperatures, again, into the upper 60s and lower 70s, about 71 in Fort Lauderdale, 70 in Miami. Winds are out of the north, and the sunshine eventually will help to erode those clouds out there. We'll get to partly sunny skies later. Highs at 84 and dry for your election day, 83 and sunny tomorrow.
And that's your latest weather. For the latest on Election Day weather, check out the Weather Channel on cable or weather.com online. Meredith?
Al, thank you very much. And still to come on today, a look back at the long and winding road to the White House, the moments you'll never forget. But up next, history in the making, how a win for Barack Obama could change the way America thinks about race. That's right after this.
Tomorrow, after all the polls have closed, after all the votes are counted, as America wakes up to a new president-elect. Wake up with Today for all the results. Decision 08, the morning after. Tomorrow on Today on NBC.
Long lines, people waiting to vote in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Expect to see a lot of that across the country today, but we urge you to stick it out. Cast your vote in what will be an historic election in either direction. Win or lose today, Barack Obama's candidacy has changed the face of American politics. A country that once sanctioned slavery and segregated blacks from whites could elect an African American as its next president. Michael Eric Dyson is a professor of sociology at Georgetown University. Hi, Michael. Good to see you.
Good morning, Matt. Good to see you as well.
Put it in perspective for me in two ways. One, that people in this country have the chance today to vote for an African American for the highest office in the land. And two, that person has a chance to become the president.
Well, those are both two great points. 40 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered, of course, and then a scant 4 years before, black people in the South, millions by the millions, were first able to vote and cast a vote in defense of their citizenship in America. So to think that 40 some odd years later, that a presidential candidate is a black man and that he has a real chance to become president is pretty monumental and mind-boggling. So to exercise the franchise in one sense is great, and on the other hand, the fact that he might actually become president is even more remarkable. It suggests that America has looked past the bitter bigotries that have divided us, the biases that have distorted our perceptions of each other as human beings, and embracing the concept that a man who is qualified, who has extraordinary gifts, who is capable of articulating the basic and fundamental creeds of American society will ascend to the highest office in the land.
Michael, though, tomorrow the results are going to be dissected and analyzed no matter who wins. And one of the things people are going to be looking, they're going to say, okay, let's look in a particular state. Let's look what the polls told us versus what actually happened. And if the poll number, the margin for Obama in a particular state was much greater than the way it actually turns out, or in the national polls, people are going to say, wait a minute, here's what we were afraid of. There were a lot of people in this country who simply didn't tell the truth when it came to the question of, I will vote for a black man. What are we going to learn?
Sure. Well, you know, certainly that may happen. And given the fact that he's the first person, the kind of Jackie Robinson of black politics, in the sense that he's the first candidate who has a real shot to become president, that may occur. But Matt, something else may occur. There may be millions of white Americans who, for various reasons, are not capable of expressing their support for Barack Obama publicly. And when they go to those polls and when they, you know, cover themselves with the sheet that's drawn behind them, they may cast a vote for Barack Obama. You might have a reverse Bradley effect that will significantly suggest that race does make a huge difference in America, but it may make also a positive impact upon how people perceive another human being and then move forward.
Before I let you go, you've already talked about what it might mean if this country elects an African American as president. So let me ask you to briefly comment on the other side of the coin. What does it mean if Barack Obama loses as the first African American candidate for the presidency?
Well, I think, look, we've got bitter lessons to learn. Black people, this is not the first time that they've come to a situation where they would be bitterly disappointed and gravely distressed by the outcome. What we must do the next day, get back up. We got this close, this much in inches. That means that the next time we'll be able to get over the hump, so to speak. I think that this particular candidacy of Barack Obama has opened up the floodgates, and there is no turning back. And I think that the extraordinary news here this morning is that having gotten this close, there's nothing that will determine or dissuade us from going forward. And I think that's what his candidacy ultimately will mean, even if he loses.
Michael Eric Dyson. Michael, it's always good to see you. Thanks very much for your time this morning.
Always good to see you, Brother Matt.
All right. 7:49 up next. Saturday Night Live takes one more crack at the candidates. We've got all the highlights. We'll show them to you right after this.
Maybe 8 or 9. I was taking a board and alien spacecraft.
Well, whether you think Obama or McCain will triumph, there is already one clear winner, Saturday Night Live. It has been the center of national conversation this entire season. And last night on a special presidential bash, the folks at SNL took on the candidates one more time with some new sketches, some old sketches, and some very special guests.
It's Saturday Night Live's Presidential Bash, an independent, unaffiliated show created by a maverick television producer I call Joe the Network Programmer.
Barack Obama will become the next president of the United States. And as sure as he does, during the first 6 months of his presidency, he will face a crisis. I guarantee it. And I'll tell you something else. The cause of that crisis will be me running my mouth.
Hi, I'm Chris Matthews of NBC's Hardball. I hope you're enjoying Saturday Night Live's Presidential Bash. It's great. With me is Democratic presidential candidate Senator Barack Obama.
Hello, Chris.
Thanks for spending a few moments with us. You, sir, are great.
All the mavericks in the house, put your hands up. All the mavericks in the house, put your hands up.
I have no problem with the show making fun of me. It's part of our great political tradition.
You've got Alaska here, and this right here is water, and then that's up there's Russia.
However, I should warn you that come January 20th, when I am sworn in as vice president, you guys had better knock it off.
When you're in the voting booth, before you vote, sure. Yes. Thumbs up, everybody.
And tomorrow, when you go to the polls...
John, with all due respect, I'm going to have to ask you to refrain from speaking because I've purchased the next 5 seconds from NBC at great expense to my campaign.
I did not know that.
John, please.
I don't know if it's going to change any minds, but it's got a lot of people thinking and talking about politics.
Great therapy, actually. Hasn't it been? Just to be able to laugh.
Laughs, absolutely.
When we come back, take a look at polling places around the country.
After this.